Welcome back to Overtime Fantasy, where we go beyond the whistle to bring you home a fantasy championship. I'm Mike Kinder. I'm here with Phil Corella and Daniel Hudgens and Tyler Jeffries, his own scout team. How's it going, fellas?
It's going good. Do you think that he was on the scout team a lot growing up?
That's all he ever did.
Oh, man, I like throwing these little side jabs. He's not here.
Oh, yeah.
Jabbing to the right.
We'll be lucky if he even listens to the podcast anyway. So, just let him have it.
Let him have it.
His life is scout team.
Any takers?
Are we talking about like Boy Scout team?
No. We're talking about him actually listening to the podcast.
He needs to listen.
He needs to listen, but he won't.
No, he won't.
Cool. But yeah, feeling good. How you feeling? You feeling all right?
Feeling great. I got to hang out with my son for a little bit today. He was helping me fix a little drywall in the house. He now has an imaginary friend for the first time.
Whoa.
He's about 3.5.
What's his name?
Bubba.
Ooh.
He said, Daddy. He kept saying. I kept hearing him saying, Bubba, Bubba, Bubba. I said, Logan, come here, buddy. So he come over and I said, Who are you talking to? He said, I'm talking to Bubba. And I was like, where's Bubba? And he just like holds something up. And he said, come on, Bubba, let's go into the other room and play. And I was like, dude, he's got a real imaginary friend.
Bro, I bet Forrest Gump did that for the rest of his life.
And not to mention, he is no longer Logan. For most of the time, he is Peter Parker.
Right, I know.
Ooh,
I noticed that.
Peter, he's not Superman. He's Peter Parker.
He's not
and it's
Spider-Man
so funny
either.
because I was sitting there and I was like, we were sitting on the couch and I was like, Logan, Peter Parker. And he turned and looked right at me, dude. Like, it was the funniest thing ever. So I got Peter Parker, and I guess his new imaginary friend Bubba is in the house. I'm not sure about this Bubba character. We're gonna figure him out as we go on.
Let me know if you need my help to kick his rear end.
Don't get me to help you. You're messing with an imaginary friend. I ain't coming over.
So while we're on the topic of children, we got to give a huge shout out to our man Brian Shalamian.
Big shout out, Brian.
Is now a daddy as official of 12:15 this morning.
Right.
So big shout out to Brian. Hopefully he gets a chance to listen to this podcast ever again.
He's gonna listen to Baby Shark a lot.
All right, so what we're going to talk about today, we are going to wrap up last night's game a little bit. So the Thursday night game, we're going to wrap that up a little bit, just quick, to the point, and then move on. Talk about our starts, talk about our sits. We have a daily fantasy league lineup that we put together right before this podcast that we'd like to share with everybody. We like it. We think it's a good one. And then we're going to do the fantasy stud of the past.
I like it.
I like that lineup.
That's a good lineup.
Super duper.
So before we get into it, follow us. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, mostly Twitter and Facebook.
And stay tuned for some YouTube videos.
We definitely got to get the YouTube videos rolling out there. I want to do, every week, I want to do a start sit, and I want to do a waiver wire YouTube video. But, I got to shower before I do that. So, no, but we'll get those rolling out very shortly. Go to www.overtimefantasy.com. Click on the logo there for, a best ball draft. You can still do best balls now. Go to draft.com/OTFantasy. Follow us on all of our social media, on our website. That's all at the top of the top right-hand page. Click on that and follow us. Yeah. Without further ado, last night's game. What do you guys think?
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. That's a big game for you, man. That
might be the only one of the year.
Yeah, but Carolina's not. They're not a bad team, man. They got a decent defense and they got a decent offense.
Cam Newton is scaring me a little bit.
Yep.
I don't think he's fully healthy. He's playing like he doesn't want to be a running quarterback anymore, and that kind of is what the offense is set up for. So having him as your fantasy quarterback, be listening to us more on our podcast coming up because we're going to get into it a little bit. Other than that, Chris Godwin, guys, I think you're right, Dan. I think the torch is being passed because Mike Evans is barely getting any targets.
Yeah, maybe because, James Bradbury, he plays Mike Evans pretty well in the past. But just like I said, man, I don't know if it's just my bias with Chris Godwin, or I really think he's that good, man. You look at his physical skill set.
Yeah. He runs really clean routes.
Yes.
He gets open, which is the biggest part, but I'm not completely sold on it yet. I think right now what we have is an AB and Juju combination from last year. It's something to really look at, though, because right now Godwin is definitely surpassing him in fantasy and everything, all the statistics around. So let's see, bounce back game for Jameis last night.
Yep,
sort of.
Yeah,
and how are you guys feeling about O.J. Howard, though?
I feel sick.
Yeah,
I'm
feel
not.
sick.
Yeah, I mean everything we were seeing in the preseason and all the reports we've been hearing that he's doing outstanding in camp. It's just not relating to the field. It's kind of it's a little sickening to see a little bit because you drafted him in the top 8, top 6 rounds. He was probably going in the 4th.
Yeah. Top 6, 5 rounds.
Right.
Look,
to start in and out, and it's not looking good.
So I got the on rotoworld.com. Bruce Arians came out and said that he can play a heck of a lot better. But I'm sitting here watching the game, and you have O.J. Howard going in motion to the fullback. That's not O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard is a pass catching tight end. He doesn't need to be the lead blocker for Peyton Barber.
Yeah. I'm not even going to get into this run game. Kinder, he snaked me last night, but it you know what? Who would have thought that Ronald Jones would just lay an egg last night after the week 1 he had?
Yeah, he had the good week 1, and then just every report come out and said that it was going. But it's just one of those cases of a running back by committee. When you get the hot hand, you keep giving it to that guy. If you shut that guy down and give it to the next guy, that's just you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, and
so
Ronald Jones, he had one good run of 10 yards, and he went out and he. If you watch the game, you could kind of tell that he looked like something was hurting him.
Yeah, he took himself out too. He immediately got up, and walked towards the sideline.
So he might be hurt right now. We don't know for sure, but Peyton Barber, he took the lead last night. Looked pretty solid.
Yeah, he looked really good, man.
As far as the Panthers go,
I tell you, Tampa Bay had the Panthers' offense number.
Yeah, they did.
They were on them, man. And the biggest part, Chris McCaffrey really let a lot of people down. But I'll tell you what, man, I put a lot of blame on Cam Newton.
Yeah.
He wasn't throwing real accurate balls to get those first downs.
Absolutely.
To put yourself in rushing territory again.
Right.
You're giving it to Christian McCaffrey on first down. He gets 3-4 yards. And then you pass it and you completely miss your receiver. And then now you're stuck into, all right, do we do a screen? Do we do, you're stuck in 3rd and long. And he kept putting themselves in 3rd and long situations and wasn't converting those 3rd downs. I put a lot of the Christian McCaffrey blame on Cam Newton.
Yeah, and last night what I noticed was, his shoulder might be, they might say it's 100% healthy, but I don't know if his foot, I don't think his foot is 100% healthy because if it's your plantar foot, which is the one that's hurt, or the one that he hurt before the season, when you plant to throw that ball, you're going to feel that pain. Now, last night, Curtis Samuel, he completely blew by one of the Tampa Bay defensive backs. If Cam Newton hit him in stride, it would have been a touchdown.
Touchdown, yeah.
Absolutely.
Underthrew him.
Yep.
And it was like a 30-yard pass. It wasn't even that long of a throw.
No, right.
That's the thing that scares me about Cam Newton right now. But I'll tell you what I like, though. I did like Curtis Samuel in this game. He was more involved than he was in week 1.
Yes.
I still like DJ Moore and Greg Olsen.
Shout out.
Man, oh, man.
Yeah.
So, is it safe to drop Cam Newton?
Honestly, I think it would depend on who you have as your other quarterback.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking. What made Cam so great was just his ability to rush and have that rushing upside in the goal line.
I mean, that's what this offense is built on.
Right, exactly. If he's not doing that, what's really his upside? Is it really top 5 like he's been
No.
the past couple years? I don't
Not
see
right
it.
now.
It's
Definitely not right now.
Like,
We'll-
I'd rather
I'll tell
have
you what,
Dak over Cam right now.
We will get into Cam Newton more next week. We'll see how the reports show and all that stuff. But yeah, last night that's what we really saw. It was a sloppy game. The conditions weren't that great. But yeah, so the Bucs get the win. Cam Newton questionable. Don't give up on some of these receivers and some of these players. On to the starts and sits, guys. What do you think?
Let's do it. Yeah. So let's start with the starts in the quarterback, and
All
then
right.
we'll move on to the sits in the quarterback. So starting out, one of my big starts here in the quarterback position is going to be Dak Prescott.
Okay.
They're going against Washington. I think this is going to be a good, tough fought game, and I think Dallas is going out there to prove a point, and I think Dak Prescott's going out there to prove a point. He had a monster game last week, and that's not why I'm starting him. I really believe in Dak Prescott this year. I think he's going to do big things.
Yeah, now there's been all this talk about, he's just a game manager. He's nothing without Zeke, blah, blah, blah. Well, look, they got Zeke, so Dak Prescott is something. So if it's one thing he showed last week is he's not a game manager. He was putting the ball on point. He was hitting the guys where it needed to go, and the ball was coming out quick. So I agree with you there. I like Dak Prescott as well. And what about this? It's kind of crazy. The first 2 games of the year are division games for the Cowboys.
I don't get that. That's crazy, isn't it?
You started out one.
That's not normal, right?
To me, it's not. But I mean,
Well, the Browns, like last year, the year before, like they didn't play the Steelers until like week 14, and then turn around and play them again in week 16. Like
Right.
it doesn't make
it's
any
just
just weird the way they line that up sometimes. You think they'd spread it out a little more.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say about Dak is that he looks like a different quarterback with Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. Like that, you see a lot of like moving pieces now. It's not just a bland offense that they've been doing the past 2-3 years. Like Kellen Moore is creative and he's actually making plays and
Yeah.
Dak, and I'm a Redskin fan and he's probably going to shred us.
Yeah, and their relationship is pretty good too because Kellen Moore is like our age.
So Dan, who's another guy that you want to start this week in quarterback?
I think Big Ben. I think Big Ben's going to be a candidate to bounce back in a big way. You kind of expected a snoozer out of him week 1. He's on the road against the Patriots. Looking at his history against the Patriots, it wasn't pretty. I mean, he had solid games, but his home road splits, everyone kind of knows that Ben plays very well at home. The Seahawks just gave up 400 yards to Andy Dalton.
Right.
This is, I don't want to say this is a must win for the Steelers, but you have the Ravens that's going to start off. Yeah, the Ravens are going to play the Cardinals. They're heavy favorites. They mimight start 2-0. The Steelers, they cannot get in a hole this early in the season. I think Big Ben comes back big. I think you can play him confidently.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on Big Ben. I think not only he has a big game, I think Juju Smith has a big game as well.
Yeah.
I think his game is going to be relied a lot on if they can get this run game going, though. I think they need to run the ball in order to throw it. Because last week they got jumped on so quick that they had no choice but to throw the ball like every single play.
Yeah.
So if they can control the game a little bit, I think that's when Big Ben starts to shine a little more.
All right, Phil. So moving on, you got somebody that you really like as a starter this week in the
I like I like Carr right now, man. I like Derek Carr against the Chiefs. Another division game. Basically, the Chiefs' defense, they give up a lot of points, but they also score a lot of points. Derek Carr he's becoming a quarterback that is not going to turn the ball over a lot. He's very smart with the ball, and I think the way that they, just like with Ben Roethlisberger, if he kind of needs the run game to establish the pass, and they have a tailback right now that is he's going to be another bright star in this league with Josh Jacobs, and I think they feed off that. And that relates to the pass game with a lot of play action. And I think he has a couple scores this game and probably in the 220-yard passing. So I like Derek Carr this week.
I'm with you on that. He's a good quarterback. I like the weapons that they have around him. I like that offensive line. I'm with you. So let's move on to the sits with the quarterback. Let's go ahead and I want to talk about Kyler Murray.
Yep.
He had. Yeah, I'll tell you what. He didn't have the best fantasy game last week, but he had that comeback. Well, almost a comeback win, comeback tie.
Right.
And he looked okay, but I'm just not trusting to start him in fantasy yet. He hasn't earned my trust.
Right, and especially against the Ravens defense. I mean,
yes.
that's tough for anybody to go up against right now.
Yes, I agree with that absolutely. But yeah, I'm sitting Kyler Murray this week if you have him.
Yeah. I mean, he has the rushing upside, but they're going to Baltimore, and this is not this ain't the Lions. Like the Ravens, they have cornerbacks. Like they probably have the best set of cornerbacks in the league. I mean, it's up there.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't like Kyler Murray this week. One quarterback I don't like is Marcus Mariota. Look, he had a solid game against the Browns. I actually played him in FanDuel last week. I mean, he was dirt cheap.
Yeah.
I played him for the reasons that I thought the Titans were going to get down, and Mariota's kind of just getting that garbage time, stats. But he had a solid game. He had 3 touchdowns. One touchdown was to Derrick Henry. It was a poorly thrown ball across the field. He barely caught it and ran 75 yards. So that inflated the stats a little bit.
And I'm not buying anything that the Titans did last week. I think the Browns were just too excited about all the hype. I think they have a lot of chemistry to kind of gain together. They never really played with each other in the preseason, and they find ways to beat themselves. They had so many penalties. They were doing typical Brown stuff. I'm not buying anything the Titans did last week. If they do it again this week, then I'll start to believe a little bit. But last week, I think, was a one-off for them.
Yeah. I mean, I think, 6, 7, 8 weeks from now, we'll look back at week 1. It's like, how in the heck did the Titans beat the Browns? That's what I'm going to probably
I agree
say.
with you on that, yeah. All right, so Phil?
All right, my sit of the week is going to be Kirky Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
I heard of Kirk Cousins. Oh, okay.
To me, honestly,
Cousins?
I don't want to own Kirk Cousins in anything. Unless it's a 2-quarterback league, I want nothing to do with Kirk Cousins all year. He just throws interceptions. He's a sloppy quarterback in my opinion, man. I don't like him.
Yeah, I just don't like how they only threw the ball 10 times last week.
That's it.
That's my real big reason. I think they are committed to this run game, man. And look, Green Bay's defense looked pretty solid last week against the Bears. I mean, granted, it was the first game. I get it. There's jitters. There's all kinds of stuff going on, but their defense looks solid enough to give Kirk Cousins a little bit of a headache. And I'm with you on this. I really don't trust Kirk Cousins as a passer. I really don't.
I will say this. The first couple drives when they were throwing the ball, he looked good throwing the ball. But like I said, if you're passing the ball 10 times
in fantasy,
you're barely startable in 2 quarterback leagues, let alone 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to these running back starts. One of my big starts that I have is the New England. Just the New England backfield. I think we all want to talk. We all want to talk about this. Going against Miami, we honestly can't pick which one we like the best. I think James Washington is a consensus with all of us, right?
James White.
Oh yeah. Gosh, my bad.
It's okay.
I'm already on to the receivers.
It's okay.
James White, I think we all like the best. Sonny Michel's, I think, is going to have a good game. Rex Burkhead, I think, has a solid game.
Yeah.
I think if you have a New England running back, you start him.
Yeah, and I think if it's one consistent part of this offense, is always James White.
Yeah.
He's always going to be involved in the pass game regardless. I mean, if not in the run game, the pass game, he will be there. So I think that's the most consistent part of this offense. I think Sonny Michel definitely bounces back. This is a defense in the Dolphins that you want players to play against. So regardless of who's in the backfield, if you have one of them, like you said, do it. Yeah. Yep, do that.
Yeah, I don't think we need to beat this dead horse. Yeah. Also, another one that I liked was the San Francisco backfield.
Yeah.
Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert.
Mostert.
I like the music of Mozart.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be like, I hate when they talk about this guy.
Classical
Believe me, we don't like it
music and A minor.
Yeah, so you guys are ridiculous. Yeah, so like I like Matt Breida more in this game than Mostert, but you got a chance for Matt Breida to get hurt. I'm thinking, Colonel Mustard is more for DFS. Like just that flyer. I don't know if I'd start him in season long, but I'd definitely start Breida. Just be prepared for him to possibly get injured.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Yeah, one of the guys that I'm really big on this week is Christian Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
Christian?
Yeah, like you and I have
Chris
a
Thompson,
bet.
my fault.
Oh.
You and I have
Where
a
are
bet.
these free agents coming from?
I don't know. Left field.
But you and I have a bet this week between Adrian Peterson and Chris Thompson.
Yeah.
I'm on the Adrian Peterson train.
I know you are.
He's been named the starter.
Right.
I think if they're on the goal line, he's getting it. I think he's going to have the most carries. I think Chris Thompson has the most in the passing down. But I think Adrian Peterson is going to outscore Chris Thompson, and Phil thinks the vice versa.
I think they both score 7 points.
Dead even 7 points.
Well, okay, 7 point, like 2-7 for Adrian Peterson, 7.56 for Chris Thompson.
So did we come up with a?
I know you want to punch me in the ribs. I know this.
Wow.
I said it was for a punch in the ribs.
I said it was a punch in the armpit,
But
then
I think
realized
I think you said it's going to be a beer chug and then hung up on me.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So you're going to do a beer chug. I'll chug a 2-liter bottle of water.
Why can't I just punch you in the armpit?
Huh? Well, I can't
You have
do.
to jump to do that.
Well, I can't chug the beer because my wife could be in labor any day now. So
All right, so I'll chug the beer for you.
you'll chug. You'll chug the beer no matter what.
Yeah, I'll chug the beer no matter what. If you lose, I get to throw a football at you as hard as I can, and you have to catch it. Because the catching back would won.
Okay, how far away am I?
We're not talking about that far. I mean, my arm can't really go 30 yards anymore. Like,
Okay, so
really
30
hard.
yards.
No, I was talking about like 20
yards.
20 feet away from you.
20 feet?
Yeah.
Good God.
What? Too close?
I'm just gonna knock it down. Yeah, that'll work.
6 yards.
All right, so moving on. That's the Washington Redskins backfield. I think if you picked them up off of waivers, I think they're a safe start.
Well, here's my whole point behind Chris Thompson is because I think the Cowboys are going to jump on him and be up in this game. And even if Adrian Peterson is running the rock, Chris Thompson is going to get his looks. He's going to get his touches. I mean, last week Geis was a starter. Regardless of when he tore his knee and meniscus and all that stuff, Chris Thompson was on the field just like he was. So that's what I'm more so looking at here, and I think the whole situation with them playing from behind is going to play a big part in it. That's the only reason. I like Adrian Peterson other than that.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders, I like him this week. I don't know what you guys think, but I think Miles Sanders is one to definitely have a bounce back.
Yeah, I think. No, you're not a fan of Miles Sanders.
No, I am. I really am. I just don't know when they're going to finally just make it the Miles Sanders show. Is my only thing. Like, for some reason, Darren Sproles is still relevant in that backfield, and that just drives me nuts because I own Miles Sanders in one league, I own Jordan Howard in another league, and then here comes Darren Sproles, like, out of nowhere. Like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
If Darren Sproles gets 30 touches in this offense, I still wouldn't want him. Like, it's just he's a 15-year running back. Like, he's
we talked about it in the weeks in this past podcast where I think when they got back to the basics and they were actually doing what they were supposed to be doing with Miles Sanders, it showed his greatness. So hopefully, whatever the Vikings did to the Falcons last week will show up this week. So
yeah. The Falcons, historically they've struggled with like those versatile backs. And just like you said, like, will Miles Sanders get that work? If he does, like, I think he's a no-brainer start. But
yeah.
All right, what about some of these sits though?
Before we move on, we also like the Kansas City backfield.
Yes.
Damian Williams and
Shady
McCoy. We like both of them.
Yeah, that's
if you got, I'm starting Shady in a league.
Both.
Of course, you're going to start Damian Williams. I think the more kind of up in the air like question would be Shady.
Yeah.
And I'm saying if you got him, start him.
It's a little shady.
A little shady, but I think it could be a big week for both of them.
So before we move on to the sits, what if we just if you have Shady, Breida, AP, how would you rank them? Like if you had to start one of them, who would you pick?
I'd start Shady, then AP, then Breida.
I think.
See, I'm going with Shady too, but I think I'm going to go Breida after
I think
that.
Breida. I would go Breida 1.
It's just because of the Cowboys' defense. That's all.
Yeah, I get that.
Just the matchup thing. Yeah.
So, moving on to the sits here. Moving on. We're talking. I want to say sit Philip Lindsay against that Bears defense. I mean, he didn't have a real big outing last week. I don't see it getting any better this week. I say if you have the bench depth to do it, sit him, because I do. I have I have enough where I'm starting Adrian Peterson over Philip Lindsay this week.
Yeah, and the thing is that Royce Freeman looked better last week than Philip Lindsay.
And this is kind of a game built for Royce Freeman if they're going to run the ball. I mean, the Bears' defense is really big and physical. And I think Royce Freeman is the one that, if they do anything, I don't think they're going to do much on the run game anyways, but he'd be the one to start.
And I really hope I'm wrong with this one, because I really want Philip Lindsay to have a good year, but, that Bears defense is monstrous, dude.
Yeah, they got some Bears on that D.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, talking about a Bear, what you got, Dan?
Sticking to the same game, Tariq Cohen.
Yeah.
Look, I know he played more than David Montgomery, but he did not get a single carry. So is that Matt or is that Matt Nagy? Is that the Matt Nagy?
Yeah.
Is that his first name, Matt?
Yeah.
Matthew.
It is now. Well, is that what the game plan is moving forward with Tariq Cohen? Just being the gadget player.
It better not be. Whatever they were pulling last week was not the answer. That was Pee Wee football type shit.
Yeah, the thing that made Tariq Cohen interesting was that he'd get that 5 to 7 carries, and then he'd get 5 to 7 targets in the passing. He just used that as an all-around back. If he's just getting 8 targets and no carries, I don't want to play him. And against the Broncos going across to Denver, it's a tough matchup for me. I'd sit him.
Yeah. I think the only bright side about Cohen is his return ability, too. That's the only upside I see about it, because he has that potential to get a touchdown.
But here's the thing. Return. He has to get a touchdown, because if you're
not... No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would never say, oh, yeah, all these yards he's going to get in punt
returns.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Now, if you're in a league where...
Returns matter.
Return yards matter, but in our league, you got to get 100 yards to get 1 point.
So in some leagues, return lives matter.
Yeah, they do. Some leagues they do.
All right.
Who you want to talk about here, Philly?
Malcolm Brown. I'm not buying this whole. Oh yeah, Malcolm Brown is going to be the red zone workhorse. I don't see it. I think it was a one hit wonder. If not, point the finger at me. Whatever. I don't care. I don't see it.
I hope you're right. I hope to gracious God you're right.
I really don't.
Because I got Gurley. I was super high on Gurley. I mean, in your league. I draft him at the turn because I have faith in him. And
I mean, shoot, he had 93 yards last week or 99 yards. I mean, he
looked good.
It looked awesome.
Good. Yeah, he'll be back. No, I don't trust this or believe in this Malcolm Brown scenario. I don't see it.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the wide receivers here. Talk about the starts. One of my favorites. I don't know why they keep moving him to a team and making him a backup. This guy is a proven number 1 wide receiver. It's Tyrell Williams. He did it when Keenan Allen was out. He really filled that role and did a great job with it. He did a good job last week. I think he's going to go all year and just be a monster this year. I like Tyrell Williams in any league. If you got him, start him.
All right. Mine is Michael Gallup. I think Gallup is going to be the one who blows the doors off the Redskins this week. Sorry, Dan.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I really like what he's been doing. He's been coming into his own. I mean, the end of last year to preseason this year, and last week. I mean, you saw it. He looked really explosive out there. I like his game. So, yeah.
Yeah, those definitely. Both of those guys are. They're going to be guys that. You picked him up. Well, Tyrell Williams is probably someone you drafted late. Gallup, Was Gallup even drafted?
Yeah, I think
I mean, he was
drafted
drafted
around the 10th or 11th round.
Really, that early?
I think so, because he was showing a really good preseason.
Okay. This next guy that I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to play him over the first two that we mentioned, but Mecole Hardman.
Yeah. He's talking about boom or bust, though. I mean, I'm thinking
He is,
more of a boom or bust, but more potential for a boom.
Yeah,
Sure.
This Chiefs Raiders game, I'm intrigued about just the game script of how it's going to go. It has the highest over under of all the games this week, with Tyreek Hill not playing. Does he step up into that Tyreek Hill role? And
Well, I'll tell you right now, every platform come out today and said that he would be the guy to do it.
Yeah.
Whether they're right or not, I don't know, but it's got to be worth a shot, right?
Yeah, it's definitely worth a shot.
Yeah, this is definitely a flyer.
Especially, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but especially in daily fantasy. Like,
oh yeah.
You got to take that shot in daily fantasy. And season long, it's a little bit harder to take that type of shot, but
yeah. This type of play is like if you're in a deeper league, if you are really in a bind at receiver, if you got a lot of injuries, yeah, take a shot on Mecole Hardman. I think he's worth the risk.
All right.
Before we move on, I got one more that I definitely want to talk about, and that's DK Metcalf. 6 targets, 4 catches for 89 yards last week. If you can add a touchdown to that is a monster game.
Yeah.
You know, even what he did there, that's a good game. You're not upset with, almost 9 points out of him.
Right.
I like DK Metcalf. If you got him, they're going against Pittsburgh. I think he has a chance to have a good game this week.
Now, would you play DK over Hardman? Where do you stand with those two?
I think DK has the higher floor. I think Hardman has the higher ceiling.
Okay.
So I think DK is the safer play. And me, the way I play fantasy football, I go for the safer play. I have a hard time taking risks because I've been bitten so many times by that. So
Yep.
Yeah, I would go with DK over Hardman.
All right. I like Will Fuller this week. Going up against Jacksonville. Jalen Ramsey's going to be shadowing DeAndre Hopkins. Will Fuller is explosive. It's only the second week of the season, so he's healthy. And I think he's going to get over the top of the defense and get a couple touchdowns this week. At least one. It's going to be a long one.
All right. Any other receivers we want to talk about?
Yeah, let's mention James
Washington.
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 This is definitely a boomer bust. It's more of a sleeper pick for me with James Washington. I liked how much Big Ben was throwing him the deep ball a lot. He's showing that speed. He's showing that he can get on the top of the corners. It's definitely worth a shot. To me, it's worth a shot. That's all.
So I've never played football, right? After you play, you watch film, right, and then you kind of see, what you were good at, what you struggled in. If they throw the ball to Dante Moncrief 10 times again, he had 3 catches for 7 yards last week. He didn't look good.
No,
I mean, granted, like Big Ben didn't look good, but I think they need to start involving Washington a little bit more, and just like you said, this is a long shot flyer, deeper leagues. I think he's worth a play. Would I play him over someone like DK or Hardman? I probably wouldn't, but I think he's worth a play.
He's worth a shot for sure. Other than that, that's all we got for our starts for the wide receiver.
On to the sits.
Onto the sits. My sit of the week is going to be Fitzy.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, the sits, we start with Fitz.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's the reason on that?
It's the Ravens. It's the Ravens. It's the whole, they're going to be pressuring Kyler Murray. I think it's going to be a rough week for the Cardinals. I don't, maybe if they get really behind and the Ravens start playing off on all these guys and start playing cover 3, cover 4, yeah, he'll have potential for a couple big catches, but throughout the game, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah,
it's going to be really ugly.
And another, just to add on, I think what you saw last week is pretty much his ceiling.
Yeah,
he's getting older. I think he's still a tremendous talent. He is one of my favorite players in the NFL.
Yeah,
I love Larry Fitzgerald, but
not this week.
Not this week. Yeah, absolutely. So, Dan, one of your sits.
Cortland Sutton. I just don't like this game. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle with the Bears and the Broncos. He had a good first week, over 100 yards, but this Bears defense is not like the Raiders. The Raiders, they are mediocre in a lot of places. The Bears are not. They're going to put pressure on Flacco. And like I said, I think I just don't see the scoring in this game for me to be excited about Sutton.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to move on to my sit of the week, and that's Antonio Brown once again. And here's the thing: I think he's playing, and it's not that the fact that he's not going to play. He's been with the system for a week. I'm not taking that chance of he's probably not going to go out every play like he's going to later in the season. But I think he's going to go out there, get a few snaps here and there on formations and lineups that he's familiar with right now. Because he's not going to be familiar with that whole playbook.
Yeah.
He's got a lot to learn in a week. I think he's a tremendous talent. I think he's going to be great. I think they force him the ball a couple times just to kind of prove hey, this is what we have. But I don't think he's going to put up the points that you're going to expect out of him.
Yeah, I heard something on the radio this morning. It was saying that what you do with newcomer players, like when a guy comes off the street, basically, or is a free agent, joins your team in the middle of the week, you tell him a couple of things. Hey, you're going to run a go route, you're going to run a post route, you're going to run a flag, and you're going to run a drag or something. We're going to keep it super simple. They might throw in a little slip screen or something for him, but they're not going to give him any kind of check routes, any kind of, anything that is a feel route with Tom Brady yet. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And
once this guy learns the playbook,
it's going to
be dangerous. As long as he, you got to really pay attention to him in the news and what's going on with all that. But we're not going to get into that because ESPN and NFL Network and everything has done enough of that. But just pay attention to it because that's going to be something. Me personally, I would try to deal him while he's hot right now. I'm getting rid of him. I don't want nothing to do with him.
I tell you, checking his rankings this week, you got him ranked as high as top 15 play of the week. You got some people ranking him outside the top 40.
Yeah.
So it is
there's
like a shotgun.
It's just nothing that you can trust. If you got no other options or anything like that, then you got to kind of roll with it. But it's, in my opinion, it's nothing that you can trust because he can go out there and put up a goose egg. He can go out there and be a decoy on a couple plays, and that is it.
And here's the thing too: if you bench him right, and he goes off and gets 100 yards and a touchdown, cool. Now we know that going forward, you do not take him out the lineup,
right?
Right. But I think this week, it's best to play it safe and just see what the game plan is involving Brown.
Let him prove something to you before you start him.
Yeah.
All right, Philly.
Yeah. The next wide receiver for me is John Ross. I don't trust it. Look, one good game out of his whole career. I'm not buying it. So if you picked him up on waiver wire, wait it out another week. If
you picked him up, good pickup.
It's a good pickup.
I think
it
so.
is a good pickup. But if you have other options at wide receiver, go with that route because you don't trust a guy who had one good game in his whole career.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of that. But if you have another option and you pick him with a waiver wire, go ahead, start him and stuff. But don't be disappointed when he only gives you 2 points.
Yeah,
that's
a very good possibility.
All right.
Like I said, it's a good pickup, but let him show it to you again.
You're right. Exactly.
And what about another one? Anyone else?
Just real quick, DJ Chark, or what would you like to call him, Dan?
Baby Chark.
Baby Chark.
Baby Chark.
Wow.
Baby Chark.
Y'all have kids, I know it. Basically, Jaguars have a backup quarterback. Don't trust a guy who had one good game with a starting quarterback. Don't do it. Next.
All right, so moving on to the tight ends. We don't really have any sits for the tight ends. This is same issue as last year. Really, even out of your top 10, you're just looking for 4 or 5 points, and any tight end can do that for you. But tight ends we want to start this week is Baltimore's tight end. Right now it's Mark Andrews, but keep an eye on that because he's questionable right now. I think they said he is going to start, but just keep an eye on it at game time. If it comes out that he is down, he's out, pick up Hayden Hurst because Hayden Hurst it can do big things as well.
Yeah.
So like Baltimore's tight ends, and we like Vernon Davis as well. You know, if you picked him up off of waivers this week, we think he's a solid start. You know, nothing. He's not going to get you crazy points, but 7, 8 points is great for a tight end, and that's what I think he's going to do this week. All right, so we don't have any tight end sits. So let's get into our FanDuel lineup that we put together right before this podcast, and it took us 20 minutes. I think we debated back and forth with a bunch of players and stuff. Correct. I think we have a solid lineup here.
The hardest thing to do is to agree on what a good price tag is for these players, right?
Yeah.
That seemed to be the hardest problem for us. Yeah. That and just Dan's so picky. That's
I am.
And here's the thing, like with the price tag, like Phil was talking about, you really need to evaluate. Like, okay, I'm going to go low on a quarterback and I'm going to go high on a running back, but it's just you got to go back and forth until you find that perfect balance of I got a good quarterback, I got a steal at a good price, and so it's just tough to find that good balance in daily fantasy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's kick it off, buddy.
Yeah, let's do it. So quarterback, we're going to roll out Russell Wilson.
Yeah, buddy.
And here's the thing. I know people are going to look at the pass attempts he's thrown week 1 and the limited pass attempts he threw last year, but I think we all came to agreement. Pittsburgh's going to come out hot. This is almost a must-win for them, and I think Seattle's going to have to keep up. And Russell Wilson's going to have to be involved in this offense. So we agreed on Russell Wilson.
And for $7,600, can't beat that.
Absolutely can't.
All right, so our first running back that we selected was Josh Jacobs. And the main reason we started with him is because he had such a low price tag for somebody that we think is going to be solid this week.
Right, and especially for the week he had last week, coming out with 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. For that type of price tag, going up against another defense that's pretty weak, and they give up a lot of points, and he's a big factor in that offense, so why not for that price?
So then just to follow that up with the running back, we went low on the price tag on our quarterback and our first running back, so we were able to spend a little more money and get one of them big names, and we went Ezekiel Elliott as our second running back.
Steal the draft. Oh, God. Wow.
The sleeper, Ezekiel Elliott.
And so what we followed up with that is we went another high price tag and a wide receiver. And we went with Michael Thomas.
Yep.
So now, at that point, we're like, all right, now we got to get the steals of the draft. Like the steals, those low price tag guys that can do big things. So who do we go after Michael Thomas here?
We went Mecole Hardman.
It was a hard one, but we got him.
It's a hard man.
Man, it was a tough deal to pass up
Now,
on.
Mecole Hardman is basically one of them guys that can win you the league.
Right.
Win you daily fantasy, win you big money because he is so cheap right now.
Yeah.
And he's somebody that can put up big numbers.
Like we talked about earlier, he's a boom or a bust, but his boom is much bigger than his bust. I'll tell you that right now. He's a boomer.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're putting this lineup into the $1 million. So you're going to have to target some guys that has like that upside to really just go out and just completely snap.
Completely blow the doors off the hinges.
Completely boom!
Whammy!
All right, and so then we moved on and we went with another fairly, about middle of the pack type wide receiver. He wasn't super cheap, but he wasn't super expensive, and that's Tyler Lockett. We matched him up with our quarterback in Russell Wilson. We really like what Tyler Lockett can do. We think he's going to be targeted a lot of times. It's a half-point PPR, right?
Yep.
So, you're going to get a half point for every time he catches the ball. We think it's a solid play with Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So if you look at this and say, okay, yeah, Tyler Lockett only got 2 targets. They got not many looks last year. You could actually pivot and go to like someone like DK Metcalf, who we talked about earlier, and then now you have some money left over to maybe upgrade to whoever.
You can upgrade your Mecole Hardman if you want, or even your Josh Jacobs. Upgrade him to a higher level as well.
Yep. So yeah, we agreed on Lockett because really first week he's not going to get 2 targets. He's the number 1 in this offense.
Right.
He's going to get more than 2 targets, and this is going to be a good play because I think people are going to look at this and say he does not get the volume, but it's just a contrarian play, and I think he's going to have a good game this week.
Yep.
So we're gonna do tight ends. We agreed on Evan Ingram.
Yeah, Phil really liked Evan Ingram, and as soon as he said his name, I was on the same page as that.
Well, the main reason he sticks out to me was because you look at that offense. Besides Saquon Barkley, he is the only other option for any kind of points to be scored for this offense. I mean, last week he had like 10 catches for like 88 yards or something like that. It was something ridiculous.
He had 116.
There you go. I think I only watched the third quarter. But basically that's what we're saying, and I think it continues on against Buffalo. For the price tag, $6,400. That's not bad. So, yeah, our experts here at Overtime Fantasy, we went with the Ingram guy from Evansville and New York Giants.
All right, and so our flex, we all kind of agreed that we kind of had to have this guy in our lineup with James White. We all just kind of said, like, hey, they're playing Miami. He's a pass catcher. He's a runner. Like, he does it all. You got to kind of have him in your lineup this week, at least. So we put him in our flex, and we had $4,800 left over for our defense. So we went high on our defense as well.
Yeah. We got Houston Texans against the Jacksonville Jaguars with the backup quarterback. They showed that they can hang right now. I mean, they made it a little physical and a little tough for Drew Brees last week until the second half. But I think that they jump on Jacksonville really early in this game, and they have to rely on that second-string quarterback to go ahead and give them some points. It was a toss-up between Houston and Tennessee, right? Or what was the other defense that we want?
We had Chicago was pretty cheap.
Chicago, right? Chicago was also a cheap defense that we liked, but in the end, we went and chose Houston Texans.
And remember, when you're picking a defense, you really want to target the team that could potentially turn that ball over.
Right.
I mean, you got a backup quarterback with
J.J. Watt.
Not just a backup quarterback. He's a rookie. He is a rookie quarterback. Like,
yeah.
The Texans, it's their home opener, divisional game. But yeah, I mean, you want to target a team that's going to turn the ball over potentially. Like, you don't necessarily want to target the games that are low scoring, but who's going to get that pick six for you? And we think it's the Texans.
Yeah, especially with J.J. Watt coming right down your face.
If you want to jump in on this million dollar team, once again, it's Russell Wilson, Josh Jacobs, Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Thomas, McCole Hardman, Tyler Lockett, Evan Ingram, James White, and Houston Texans. We don't mind splitting that million.
That's solid.
We don't mind splitting that $1 million with you guys. All right, so moving on, very last segment, fantasy stud of the past. Let us hear it here. You seem pretty excited about this one here, Dan. Let's hear it, man.
So the Dolphins got embarrassed week 1. So let's kind of go back to the year 2005. And this guy played for the Miami Dolphins. So I gave you the team.
Ricky Williams.
Let me finish. So the answer is no. But let me finish.
I don't even know if he played in 2005. I know it was around that time.
Yeah, I think he did. Wide receiver. So looking at the Dolphins' history, I was kind of trying to pick like who on the Dolphins was like just a complete stud. It was hard to find a receiver that was a complete stud. I mean, Jarvis Landry was solid. They actually had Brandon Marshall like 6-7 years ago, and he was
Reggie Bush.
Yeah, and he was pretty good. But I'm going back to 2005, so he's a receiver. He had 1,018 yards with 11 touchdowns. He had 82 receptions, and he had 166 targets.
I know who this person is.
I'm
pretty sure I do.
The efficiency was just terrible, but I mean, you look at the end game and stats back in the day. If you're a receiver with double-digit touchdowns and 1,000 yards, you are a pretty much must start every week. So 2005 wide receiver. This was his only 1,000-yard season to his name. And minus Jarvis Landry's double-digit touchdown season, I think he had, 3-4 years ago? The last person to do it was this person for the Dolphins.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's how bad, like, their receivers, well, I don't want to say bad, but as far as fantasy, like, that's how non-productive the Dolphins receivers have been.
I think I got it.
What do you think?
Let's
Go
hear
ahead
it.
and guess.
Huh? Nah, I can't think of anybody right now.
I'm gonna say Chris Chambers.
Chris Chambers is the correct answer.
Nice.
That's,
You suck.
That's
Suck,
pretty.
Ender.
That's pretty dominant, Phil. Way to go, man. And as soon as you said Chris Chambers, I was like, "Oh, that's
yeah,
right, yeah."
that's
Like,
right, yeah.
see, that's my problem, man. I can't pull it up from the from the basement here, like knock the cobwebs off and figure it out by myself. I need someone else to knock the cobwebs off.
Let me do an honorable mention because that was pretty quick.
Okay.
That was quick. That was
so,
good.
So
Way to
look,
go.
so Miami Dolphin receiver.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, probably wasn't a must start on a daily basis. Probably maybe PPR, but this guy he posted back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I believe it was in 2008, 2009. It was sometime with the late 2000s into the early teens. He was a guy that caught a lot of passes. He had 1 touchdown in his first 1,000-yard year, and he had 4 touchdowns his second. That was in 2012 and 2013. He came out of Ohio State, and he came out in 2009. Okay, so he was with the Dolphins, and yeah, like I said, I mean this was a guy, he got targeted a lot, more of a PPR specialist. He had 1,000 yards back-to-back seasons, 1 touchdown in 2012, 4 in 2013. If I give you one more hint, you might get it. He was a white receiver.
All right, yeah,
I got it.
Okay, go ahead.
Matt and Brian love this guy.
Yeah.
Do you know who it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, Brian Hartline.
Yep. That's crazy to think that he was a back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver.
I don't remember him on the Buckeyes. I don't.
Yeah, I did because he went back and coached. That's the main reason why I
Okay.
remember him. Like, I remember that he went to Ohio State. It's because he went back and coached at Ohio State. And yeah.
They did.
Like when you said the white receiver, I
mean, because that's the only other guy I could think of in 2012 in that time frame for the Dolphins. I'm like, it was either Devon Best or Devin Best.
Yeah, that was the other one I was thinking,
And,
but I was like, he didn't go. And the one thing that just reminded me, I just remember being at Brian and Matt's house, and they're just going nuts over him. So I was like, oh, it's got to be Hartline. They love that guy.
Yeah, and he had 130-plus targets in both those seasons.
That's crazy.
So he was the number one for that team.
Yeah. Did he do much outside of those 2 years?
No,
Absolutely not. He did not.
That's awesome.
He actually played for Cleveland his last year, I think.
Yep, I remember that.
Yep, he wasn't even a
Definitely didn't
starter.
do anything there.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't the starter.
He went to Cleveland for one reason, so he can end his career.
He had 14 career touchdowns.
Nice.
Shout out Brian Hartline.
Shout out Brian Hartline.
Man, oh man, that's awesome.
All right, so that's all that we have. Our fantasy stuff of the past. Fun once again. Hey, we did a good job with it this time. Way to go, Phil, with the Chris Chambers.
Thanks, man.
Shout out
and
Miami
you knew the
Dolphins.
Brian Hartline as well. Way to
Yeah,
go.
we figured we'd give the Dolphins a little shout out because it's not going to look good. this week.
Yeah, we've been trashing them so much. We're sorry, and
Dude,
as a fan, you got to build, and they did a really good job with the trade of Laramie Tunsil. They got a lot of picks out of that. I think Miami in 3 years is going to be a different team.
I really thought I had to go back to like Dan Marino for the fantasy stud of the past. Running back wise, I don't know.
All right, so we appreciate you listening. That's all that we have for today. Tune in Sunday to our Facebook Live. We're going to be giving you, your starts and sits. We're going to answer any questions, any debacles that you have of I got this guy, and that guy. We're gonna tell you our favorites, and then let you kind of make the decision from there. So thank you for listening. You guys got anything else?
Nope. Have a good weekend.
Night.